Welcome to the Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva, and today we're going to get some insight in entrepreneurship. My guest today is Mark Hewel. He's the president of SpeedPro Imaging of Mercer County. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Anthony, for having me.
Sure, no problem. So usually I start my guests where they went to college. So where did you go to school?
Well, I went to Penn State University.
Oh, great.
State College, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, good. Yeah. So let's go back in time and find out, back in high school, when did you start thinking about going to college and starting this whole process? Was it freshman year? Was it senior year? How did it all begin for you?
Probably it was around my junior year.
Okay.
It's hard to remember that far back, but yeah, probably around my junior year, I started thinking about it. I was taking AP classes, and I knew that I wanted to do something. I just didn't know what I wanted to do.
Absolutely. A lot of people are like that, right? So usually, do your parents get involved in this? How did this all start? How does the process start?
Well, for me, I had a discussion with my parents. They asked me what I wanted to do. I told them that I wanted to go to school. And I think at the time I wasn't exactly sure where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do. And so I put out there that I was looking to perhaps start with an associate's degree.
Okay.
And so that's kind of where the discussion began in terms of, how they were going to support me financially.
All right. So now, was there a couple of different two-year colleges that you were looking at, or was it Penn State right from the get-go? How did that?
Well, as my thinking, progressed, I started looking at schools where I could go from associate's degree to a bachelor's degree. Penn State was at the top of my list. I also looked at Lock Haven State University. Unlike today, where kids are applying to a dozen plus schools, sure. The process was completely different then.
Yeah. So you only did 2 schools then?
Yes.
Okay. And did you visit the schools?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, how did you end up picking Penn State?
Well, that was my first choice. I loved the university for its size and all its offerings, from big time college sports to just a beautiful campus with lots of options. And so that was number one on my list. So when I got in, that's where I was going to go.
Oh,
yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So now you're at school. You go to Penn State first day. What do you start thinking about? How does this whole process start when you get to school?
Oh, it was pretty daunting to navigate through such a large school. Finding your way to classes. Your first semester can be a bit overwhelming. I don't think that high school really prepared me to be as independent as of a student. In terms of having the taking on the rigors of college.
Yes.
So I didn't have a lot of discipline around studying and so forth. So that was one of the things that you learn very quickly in terms of how you're going to get through this.
Yeah. So now, did you think about entrepreneurship in college right away, or was it more, I'm going to just take the general classes and start from there?
Yeah, not at all. I mean, being a business owner wasn't even, a thought that I had at the time. I was looking to do something with my life other than, taking on some routine manufacturing job or whatever was being offered back in, the late 70s, early 80s. And so I wanted to do something. I just didn't know what I wanted to do.
Okay, so general classes are usually the first 2 years, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so what did you end up studying in college?
Well, I started off with some business courses.
Okay.
And over time, I started becoming interested in engineering. I thought, well, engineering would be a cool career.
Yeah.
So I started taking some engineering classes and realized I'm not going to be an engineer. So I basically came up with a degree that combined engineering and business, and it was offered by the School of Agriculture. So I ended up getting a degree, a bachelor's degree in agricultural mechanization.
Wow.
Something
That's
different.
interesting.
Yeah, it was different.
Yeah, so what does that entail?
Well, it was. It really came down to fairly heavy business education with the understanding of engineering and how things worked. I believe the career that would be set for someone who took that could be anything from working in a manufacturing environment, plant manager, quality control manager, to perhaps out selling something along a technical line.
Okay. So now, did you ever think of entrepreneurship while in college?
No.
You didn't?
Not at all. No.
Okay. So now, how does one go from college to becoming the president of SpeedPro Imaging, Mercer County in New Jersey?
Well, in my senior year, I met the vice president of human resources. Actually, at the time, was personnel for an aerospace company, and he happened to have an opening on his staff, and so I went for an interview and became a recruiting coordinator. So I was responsible for recruiting college grads into their engineering programs.
Wow.
So that was kind of a nice transition, having some engineering, having engineering education along with business, and now becoming part of human resources and focused on recruiting engineers from schools all over the country.
Wow. So you did a lot of traveling then?
I did a fair amount, but not a lot. I mean, we would send out engineers on campus to interview. I would go out to a number of schools as well. So it was a role of kind of coordinating all these activities to identify the right people.
Now, does that mean that there's a lot of networking that you do in college to find a vice president like that?
Well, it was we were looking for new grads. Oh, as far as my yeah. I don't think anybody used the term networking then.
Just talking to people.
Yeah, I was just talking to people, and and the introduction came about, and I think that this individual was looking to fill a spot. Mm-hmm. We connected on some level, and it led to the opportunity for an interview.
Does the school help you with that?
Actually, I did go on a number of interviews through the school, through the placement office.
Okay.
This was outside of the placement office.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So now, how many years does it really take to go from working somewhere to becoming an owner of your own, that you got into entrepreneurship?
Well, I think that's going to really depend on the individual and what path they took. I spent nearly 30 years, 28 years in human resources management.
Wow.
And, in the later, part of my career, I started thinking about, what do I want to do? What else do I want to do with the remaining part of my career? Mm-hmm. And so that was for me, about a 5-year process from the time in which I started thinking about it till the point in which I pulled the trigger.
Okay. So now, how does one start a business?
It helps if you have money.
Quite a lot of money, or is it just a small amount?
I don't know. It depends on the business, I suppose. But it really starts with a plan, understanding, identifying what it is, and really going through that due diligence of making sure this is, one, something you want to do. Two, is it something that's going to be successful, mm-hmm. and it's breaking it down and talking to a lot of people. People that have been there to understand what they had gone through. Why has it worked for them? are you willing to put forth the kind of, effort and resources to be successful?
So now you own a franchise, right?
I do.
Okay, so is that way different than opening your own business?
Oh, I would think so. Yes, the concept of buying into a franchise is that there's a proven model. So, and you're going into business for yourself, but you're not alone in that business. In other words, you have lots of resources to pull upon, whether it be other franchise owners or the franchise itself. There's lots of resources to pull on to help you along the way.
So is it the support team that you're looking for when you do that? Was that an option for you? You're looking at support team for a franchise business instead of owning a business. So is it that support team that you look for when you're looking for a franchise type of business?
Sure. I think there's a number of things that start off with the other owners, the existing owners. What's their happiness? Are they happy with their decision?
Yeah.
How they went about making that decision. What type of support do they get, both from a technical standpoint as well as a marketing standpoint. So those things come together. You need to look at what does it take to reach break even. It's going to vary from individual to individual based on their skills, knowledge, and effort, as well as the markets they're in. Every market's going to be different.
So now, if you're a college kid coming out of school, do you tend to look at franchises or owning your own business more when you're in your 20s?
Oh, I don't know if I were to graduate today in today's environment that I'd be looking to start a business right away.
Okay.
I think that the smart play is to go work for a larger organization, gain the experience and knowledge that they have. I mean, large organizations will train you well. You'll learn a lot about business. And that will help prepare you in terms of your business maturity to the way things really should work, the discipline around various business functions. This all comes together in large organizations. But when you own your own business, now you're doing everything that all these other departments used to do. So when there was a bill to be paid, you send it to accounting. If there was a human resources issue, you'd involve other people to help you resolve it. If you were recruiting to fill a position, again, you would solicit the internal resources. But when you're running your own business, it really comes down to you.
So now a lot of students out there, they usually say, I can't find a job because they're always looking for experience. So why not create my own job? What do you say about, kids that are saying that kind of stuff?
Well, there are a number of individuals who are just entrepreneurs by nature. I mean, they come out, they have an idea and are able to run with it. I think you can point to a lot of examples of where young people have come out of school with ideas of whether they're some type of app or other type of product and have taken it to market and been very successful.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty rare, but I think it can happen, absolutely.
And you said money before. Money, if you're opening up your own business compared to a franchise business, what's the difference in monies that you're looking at?
I think it depends on the business. So if the business really depends on you, that you're not buying, equipment, that you don't need a brick and mortar establishment, all those things become very expensive and can be a quick drain on whatever assets you have early on. However, consulting and where you can work out of your home, you don't have employees, all those things, it doesn't require a lot.
So you don't have
But it
to
really
worry
depends on
about
the business, business type.
So now, SpeedPro Imaging happens to be a sponsor of this show as well. What exactly do you do at SpeedPro Imaging?
Well, at SpeedPro, we help our customers get their message out, whether it's through branding of their business, whether it's just some type of promotion, and it's all through printing big. So we print great big graphics. So we do everything from trade show displays to vehicle wraps, banners, building signs, window graphics, and so much more.
And you can handle everything from small business to big box stores, anything in between.
Absolutely, we have customers who are may just be very small business up to major corporations to ad agencies. We cover the gamut.
And they contact you directly, or is it just a sales department? Who are they? Who if someone's interested in that kind of stuff, who do they contact?
They could come to our website at speedpromercercounty.com, and there is a button where they could submit an inquiry, or they could call our number and speak to any individual within our business, and we'll be happy to help them.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So now, going back into high school, is there like trade college nights or things like that you go to for kids that, like yourself, you're not really sure what you wanted to do at the beginning? Is there any kind of college nights or anything that you did?
I don't remember that.
Okay.
I do remember taking the SATs. I remember certain things, but I really don't remember those kinds of events taking place when I was in high school.
And was there the travel? Was that a big factor? Being that you went to Penn State, were you from Pennsylvania?
Yeah, I was. I grew up about 45 miles from University Park. So it was, my reality was that I wasn't going to be going to school at UC Berkeley or Miami. I wasn't going to any exotic location.
Okay.
I was staying local.
Okay, so you really were looking at just the schools from the Pennsylvania area, being that you were from Pennsylvania.
That's correct.
Okay, and traveling to those schools and checking them out, what did you find at the atmospheres of those schools? Picking the school just because of the sports and academics of the school is great, but a lot of students out there, they want to know, the diversity of the school, what it actually brings to you.
Yeah.
Was there anything when you visited those schools that really came out and said, wow, this is really what I want to do?
I really don't remember that. But, I think that today's consumers, the students, the prospects, they're so much more better educated in terms of looking at schools. There are so many things to look at, from the size of the school, its geographic location, to its Greek life, to sports, to the educational offerings, to diversity. Mm-hmm. There are so many things to take into consideration, and I think it's a very important thing that every student needs to look at themselves and say, what is the ideal environment for me?
Yeah.
I just happen to thrive in a large environment. If I went to a really small school, I don't know if I would have enjoyed it quite as much as I did there.
Well, was the other school Lock Haven?
Yeah, Lock Haven State. Yeah.
Lock Haven State, was that as large a school as Penn State?
No, it was a much smaller school.
Yeah. So what were the differences that you saw within the two schools? Just because of the size, it's got to be, right?
Yeah,
one of them.
Yeah, the size. It's offerings. The majors. The various.
And how close was Lock Haven compared to Penn State?
It wasn't that far down the road from from State College.
So same thing. It's about
Yeah.
40, 45-minute drive.
Maybe
for
a
you?
little bit longer. Yeah, not far.
So really, the travel distance wasn't anything that was
No, it was
making the difference.
No, not at all.
And so the ambiance of the school, what does Penn State look like for some of the people that haven't been to Penn State?
For me, because I went and did the college recruiting and visited a lot of schools after I had graduated, so everything was benchmarked against Penn State, and there were very few schools that I would go on campus and say, this is just like State College or University Park. So it's a large school, but it's spread out. It's on one campus, the University Park, that is. One large campus.
Dorm rooms on one side,
dorm,
stadiums on the other.
Yeah, dorm rooms are kind of spread throughout the campus, north, south, kind of east and west, and but the campus has a nice feel. It's kind of the idyllic university setting with a great college town.
No water next to it or nothing like that, huh?
No, there's no beach.
So there's just it's just Penn State and that's it. Is there a community outside of Penn State?
Yeah, the State College community is a great community. I don't know what the population is, but we'll say it's 30,000 without the students, 35,000. It's a very pretty town nestled in the Allegheny Mountains.
Wow, and so a lot of people that are looking at Penn State, they usually tend to gravitate towards the sports. Football and basketball is usually the main sports. Does Penn State show students when they go there to tour? Do they show them other things other than just the football stadium?
Absolutely. I mean, they have the arts. I mean, there's so much that it goes on at the university. It's just rich in culture. And you can make a large school feel small, but you can't make a small school feel big. So I think that you come into a large environment like that, you can find a place for yourself.
Yeah.
Provided that you're good with kind of navigating through. Because unlike a small school, there's not going to be someone to handhold you, make sure you get through your 4 years.
So are the class sizes pretty large at Penn State?
It depends. It depends on the classes. I mean, I had some classes that were 200 students, maybe more, and other classes that were 20 or less.
Really?
So it really depended on what the class was.
So when you take a tour at the school like that, what are they actually showing you? Do they show you the classrooms? Do they show you some of the buildings there, or is it pretty much they don't show you much of anything and just run you through?
They'll take you through, and you'll see classrooms and auditoriums, and see the library.
And so do they get you to talk to financial people there, admissions, that kind of stuff as well?
I really don't know the answer to that. I mean, like I said, it's been a while.
Yeah, well, you want to find out for the parents out there that they're constantly looking for those type of things, tour-wise, because a lot of times these days parents are going with their kids to different schools. And did your parents go with you when you visited?
Yes, especially State College or Penn State, yeah.
Yeah. So does it come down to money? Because I know when you're in the state of Pennsylvania, it's a lot cheaper than if you were living in New Jersey.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Does it come down to money?
Oh, finance is huge. I mean, I needed to work. I worked 2 to 3 part-time jobs while I went to Penn State.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, so you were doing it on your own, even without mom and dad trying to help you?
Yeah, I mean, for part of my time at Penn State, absolutely.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So now after graduation, was there any graduate school or anything like that for you?
I did not seriously pursue that. It had crossed my mind
Really?
on different stages of my adult life, but I never pulled the trigger on it. Yeah.
Well, that's always a big thing for
Yeah.
a lot of people out there as well. So we're coming to the end of our show. Usually I ask my guests, what advice do you want to give to the parents out there that their sons or daughters are going to schools, they want to become entrepreneurs after school? What advice do you want to give those parents?
I would suggest that, one, they pick a school that fits their child, or their child picks a school that fits themselves, from the standpoint of where do they think they can be most successful.
Okay.
I mean, there are those who will go off and pursue a school that may not be the best fit for them. They're drawn in by whatever that might be, maybe geographic location, sitting on a beach somewhere. But I think that they need to find the fit, and there's a school out there for everyone, and so it's finding the right school, number one, and then two, network. Find people that are doing something similar to what your son or daughter wants to do.
Good.
Find an internship. I mean, because what you think you might want to do versus where you end up may be completely different. So it's kind of like sorting that out, and and keeping your options open, because there's so much out there. And frankly, I don't think that at 17, 18 years old, that you really do know what you want to do in life. You may have an idea, it may take you down a road, but as we all know, there's lots of offshoots of that.
Good. Well, thank you very much for coming to the show.
Well, thank you, Anthony.
Yeah, no problem. So you've been watching The Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva. Until next time.